Revealed. The amazing nanny who transformed the lives of a millionaire CEO's twins in just 7 days. Sarah's heart raced as she walked towards the mansion that was now part of her new reality. A golden opportunity had landed in her lap, and she couldn't let it slip away. As she approached, her mind swirled with thoughts of Mia and Leo, her own children, not just a job, but a potential way to give them a better life. In the palms of Silicon Dreams, she felt the weight of her determination pressing down, but also a wave of anxiety washed over her. Could she truly make a difference in the lives of Tyler's twins? Just a week ago, she had been struggling to make ends meet, balancing lunch rushes and endless cleaning jobs. Now, stepping into the extravagant world of the tech elite felt like stepping onto foreign terrain. The twins, both named Mia and Leo, were sharp and charming, but Sarah quickly sensed they were hiding behind walls built high with expectations. As she interacted with them, her instincts kicked in. The very techniques she once used to navigate her own struggles began to come to mind. She could teach them to connect beyond grades and metrics, to embrace empathy and understanding, but would Tyler support or thwart her unconventional approach? The thought clenched her stomach. She remembered nights curled up with her children, crafting stories that sparked joy while shrouded in worries about tomorrow's bills. Then came the challenge, resisting the urge to stay invisible while trying to nurture these gifted yet isolated kids. Should she tread lightly, preserving Tyler's order, or push forward and risk his disapproval? With her insides in turmoil, every laugh shared with the twins cut deeper, reminding her of the warmth she longed for her own children. The stakes were mounting. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. But with each encounter, tension breached the surface. Tyler's skepticism about her methods loomed heavy. His structured life was clashing against her organic approach. Emotional walls threatened to rise higher each day she spent in the house. Could a single moment of joy from the twins justify her ever-growing worry that she might disrupt their father's empire? Just when she thought she was breaking through, news of Tyler's estranged brother reached them, triggering a storm of old wounds. Families weren't supposed to be this complicated. But here she stood, a caretaker embroiled in the chaos parents were meant to protect. Seeing the twins' struggle made her reflect on her own upbringing. She felt her purpose wrap around the twins, yet wondered if she might become a fleeting shadow in their world of privilege and power. Moments of connection turned to moments of doubt. What if she wasn't enough? Her heart ached with the weight of that thought. The stakes kept rising with every laugh shared, every secret whispered. As she pondered these uncharted waters, chaos erupted. An anonymous letter arrived, its contents poised to shake their seemingly idyllic life to its core. Sarah was caught in the eye of the storm, her heart racing as uncertainty gripped her soul. Would she become a permanent fixture in this family? Or would she be the catalyst for unraveling everything? With her pulse quickening, she felt the familiar fear creep in. What if her chance to redefine success, love, connection, understanding was slipping away just as it had started to bloom? The clock was ticking, and every second felt like a countdown to the decisions that could define them all. As the morning sun streamed through the grand windows of the mansion, casting golden hues across the marble floors, Sarah's mind was a tempest of thoughts. The anonymous letter still weighed heavily on her, its implications tangled in the fabric of her evolving reality. What kind of information could shake the foundation of this family? The twins, Mia and Leo, were already cloaked in uncertainty. She needed to navigate through this new chaos carefully. In the kitchen, preparing breakfast, she felt the familiar comfort of routine mixing with anxiety. Each whisk of the eggs was a calculated motion, but her mind was racing through possibilities. Could this letter be a signal, a challenge to push her further? Or was it merely a distraction, a sabotaging force designed to push her out of their lives entirely? Sarah. Leo's voice broke her reverie. She turned to see him entering, tousled hair and bright eyes alive with curiosity. "Can we bake cookies today?" The simplicity of the request sparked something within her, a chance to break down some of those walls. Baking could be a canvas for connection, blending laughter with lessons that transcended conventional expectations. "Absolutely. But first, how about an adventure in the garden while we wait for the oven to heat up?" As they stepped outside, Sarah caught a glimpse of the expansive estate that once intimidated her. The lush greenery contrasted sharply with her concrete past, but the vibrant life surrounding her resonated with stories of resilience. With each flower blooming, she felt her own potential flourish amidst the children's laughter. "Can we make chocolate chip?" Mia chimed in, gliding behind them, her voice soft but assertive. Sarah nodded, feeling empowered by the twins' eagerness, fueled by their shared anticipation. In the garden, they hunted for ingredients, finding some mint leaves, charming Leo into thinking they could add a secret flavor to the cookies. Laughter erupted as Leo pretended to be a master chef, announcing each find with grand gestures. In those fleeting moments, Sarah witnessed glimpses of the twins shedding a fraction of the burdens they carried. Yet when Mia hesitated, her eyes darting towards the grand house, Sarah's heart sank. That fear, that anxiety rooted deep within her, mirrored her own thoughts about being unworthy amidst this magnificent life. "What if we don't have enough?" Mia asked, the words heavy on her lips. The question hung in the air, and Sarah realized they were both teetering on the same precipice of doubt. She turned to Mia, her voice steady but gentle. "It's not about what we have but what we create together. Let's make our own magic." Mia's eyes brightened, the weight momentarily lifting. In that exchange, Sarah felt a flicker of hope for their growing bond, but also a tightening around her chest, a reminder of Tyler's looming disapproval. Would he see this as frivolous, notice the joy blooming at the edges of the chaos, or would he disdain it? After the cookies were in the oven, Sarah returned to the interior of the house to reflect. Tyler was perched at the dining room table, laptop glowing before him. She weighed the fabric of their circumstances, determining whether now was the right moment to share the joy she fostered with Mia and Leo. "Hey, Tyler." She chose her words cautiously. "The twins and I are baking cookies, and I believe it'll be a fun surprise for you later." He glanced up, skepticism in his eyes, but she saw the softening at the corners of his mouth. "As long as it's not a mess." A test of wills and hearts lay embedded in his terse response. But this was more than a job. She needed to advocate for the twins, and in doing so, for her own growth. As the aroma wafted through the mansion, something vital seemed to shift between them, a crack in the rigidity that defined their interactions. Sarah understood that she had to be brave, to bridge the divide between their worlds while standing firm in her values. But just as hope flickered into existence, a shadow passed over her resolve. A chime echoed from the study, a notification of yet another hidden secret surfacing. With a sigh, she steeled herself. The storm was only beginning, and she had to confront the truth before it marred the fragile connections she was building. The twins needed her, and amidst the chaos, she felt a relentless urge to protect that bond. But what other truths lay in wait, lurking within the very walls of the mansion designed for success? Would she have the courage to uncover them all, even when it could threaten her place in their lives? The answer was uncertain, and Sarah felt the clock ticking once more, this time, towards revelations that could change everything. The time had come for Sarah to confront the growing unease within her, even as the tantalizing scent of cookies filled the mansion, signaling a momentary triumph over doubt. The chime from the study echoed in her mind, a reminder that a deeper investigation awaited her. With each passing moment, a decision loomed larger. Should she probe the origins of the troubling letter, or fortify the delicate bonds she was nurturing with Mia and Leo? As she moved to the study, her heart raced with uncertainty. Each step felt heavy, burdened by the conflicting responsibilities of caregiver and confidant. How could she be both a source of light for the twins and a beacon of truth when shadows lingered on the periphery? Entering the study, she found the room dimly lit, a contrast to the vibrancy she'd just left behind. Papers cluttered Tyler's desk, the laptop casting an unnatural glow against the dark wood. The very essence of this room felt like a barrier, an emblem of the secrets and pressures that encased the family in emotional isolation. "Everything okay?" Tyler's question, though casual, contradicted the furrow in his brow. "Just thinking about some things," she said, masking her tension with a smile. For a fleeting moment, she wanted to dismiss her instincts of curiosity. Yet, as she observed Tyler's concentration, the anxiety within her only unfurled further. Her role had evolved beyond that of a mere caregiver. She was becoming a part of their story, but how that story was written remained uncertain. "Do you have a moment to talk?" she ventured, looking for clarity among the chaos. A chance to reframe their dynamic, and perhaps gain insight into the family she felt so desperately protective of. He shrugged, closing the laptop lid with an audible finality, revealing a willingness to engage. "What's on your mind?" "I want to ensure the twins are all right, to create a safe space for them," she began hesitantly. "Safe spaces don't build strength," he countered, each word laden with his steadfast adherence to tough love. Sarah felt her pulse quicken. Words had power, and they could either fortify her resolve or yank her under. But how can they grow when they're immobilized by fear? "What I've seen in them is potential stifled by doubt." Tyler leaned back in his chair, studying her, and in that moment, she could almost see the gears turning in his mind. This conversation was more than just an employee voicing concerns. It was a pivotal stand for the narrative of his children's lives, and her own. "You think cookies will fix everything?" His tone softened, revealing the cracks beneath his rigid exterior, but she sensed the disbelief hidden beneath his humor. "Not everything, but it creates moments where they can be carefree, where we can all let down our guards," she replied, anchoring hope firmly in her heart. He paused, reflecting on her words. Sarah seized the moment, using his hesitation to assert her position. "You're a great father, Tyler, but even great parents need to allow room for vulnerability. The twins need to feel like they belong here with us. As much as they need to learn resilience, they need moments that remind them life is also about joy, not just survival." His eyes narrowed, challenge flashing through them. "And what happens when that joy invites chaos? Maybe chaos is part of growth?" The words spilled forth before she could rein them in. Their back and forth was more than an exchange. It was a tug-of-war over the future of the twins. Just when she felt she was gaining ground, however, an overwhelming wave of self-doubt threatened to drown her thoughts. In that moment, Sarah realized she was engaging in the ultimate confrontation, not just with Tyler, but with her own fear of rejection and failure. The letter had stirred not just curiosity, but a broader question. How could she be instrumental in the healing and growth of the family, while also defending her position in a world that seemed ready to swallow her whole? Before she could gather her thoughts, the shrill chime of her phone interrupted the confrontation. A message from an unknown number flashed across the screen, bringing the world crashing down around her. "I know the truth about the twins." Her heart raced as the weight of the letter shadowed her hope. She needed to act, to adapt, to unravel the threads of this mystery. But could she maintain the delicate balance she'd begun to build with the twins? The stakes had risen, and she had no choice but to plunge deeper into the role fate had thrust upon her. Determined yet apprehensive, she prepared for the most difficult choice, yet how to face the truths that lay ahead, and what sacrifices she might have to make to protect those she had begun to love so dearly. What other mysteries awaited her, and would they shatter or solidify her newfound family bond? The cold bite of uncertainty clawed at Sarah's resolve as she stood in the dimly lit study, the message on her phone still hovering in her mind like a specter. She felt unmoored, suspended between the trust she sought to build with Mia and Leo and the lurking shadows of their family's secrets. The stakes had shifted dramatically, and realizing this filled her with a mix of dread and determination. Taking a deep breath, she set her phone down, silencing the tempest of her thoughts. If she was to help the twins, she couldn't allow her fears to dictate her actions. Instead, she needed a plan and approach that would honor her instinct to delve deeper into the mysterious letter, while also prioritizing her commitment to nurturing the twins' emotional world. "I have to be brave," she whispered to herself, recognizing the dual path ahead. On one hand, She could become a force for change within the family by exposing the hidden truths. On the other, she could continue to fortify the sanctuary they had begun to build together. The question was, could she genuinely do both? As she paced the room, her mind raced through a spectrum of strategies. Perhaps she could start by talking to the twins, gently probing their feelings, confirming her suspicions about their fears and insecurities. They had begun to confide in her, and maybe they would share insights that could illuminate her understanding of the family's deeper issues. This risk would require her to expose her vulnerability, the very thing she championed, but it was a risk she felt ready to take. However, she needed a solid foundation before she could navigate that conversation. Turning her attention back to Tyler, she felt a provocative urge to shift their dynamic once again. He was ready to engage, and now was the time to elevate their dialogue. "Tyler," she began, her voice calm but resolute, "I think we need to set aside our defenses. The twins are feeling something big, and if we don't address it together, it might only grow. I'd like to create a plan with you that ensures we're both communicating openly with the children." He regarded her for a moment with a mix of skepticism and respect, the corner of his mouth lifting in a half-smile. "So, what do you have in mind?" The twins need to feel empowered, but they also need to know they are safe when sharing their feelings. What if we establish a family tradition, maybe a weekly dinner where we can each share something personal? Start with lighter topics, build trust, and slowly make it a space where they can voice their fears? Could work. He nodded slowly, his brow furrowing. But what if they don't want to share? What if it invites more chaos? Chaos can lead to understanding, Tyler. And besides, they're already experiencing it in silence. By giving them a voice, we help them reclaim their narrative. When her eyes met his, she felt a flicker of shared purpose ignite between them. His expression softened, and for the first time, she sensed he was beginning to see the value in her perspective. "Fine. We'll give it a try," he agreed, a reluctant fire of determination kindling in his eyes. "But if it backfires, I'll take full responsibility," she interrupted firmly, the weight of personal accountability settling into her chest as they strategized further. Sarah could feel her confidence crystallizing. With each proposal exchanged, she was reclaiming her power, both as a caregiver and as an integral force influencing Mia and Leo's upbringing. Yet, the message still loomed like a storm cloud at the edge of her consciousness. Unraveling the identity behind it was now unavoidable. As they completed their planning, she knew it was time to take action. Once she was outside of the study, her legs propelled her toward the twins' playroom. They were building a fort out of oversized cushions, their laughter ringing through the hall. She hesitated for a moment, the anxious knot forming in her stomach, but steeled her resolve. This was the opportunity she had been waiting for. She just needed to tread lightly. "Hey, you two," she called out, a smile creeping onto her lips, despite her racing heart. "Mind if I join you?" Their eyes lit up, and as she crawled into the fortress of cushions, Sarah steeled herself. What would they reveal today? Would they share the untold stories lingering behind their smiles? The weight of the unknown ahead felt increasingly tangible, and realization struck her the bond she sought to protect could indeed be the catalyst of discovery. But with every question there arose another potential danger. The letter hung heavy in the back of her mind. I know the truth about the twins. Who had sent it? And how would she uncover that truth without jeopardizing the fragile connection she was fostering? Sarah took a deep breath, knowing that the only way to emerge from the shadows was to step boldly into the light. She was ready to confront the unfolding narrative of the twins' lives, even if it meant braving chaos lurking in every corner. As the twins giggled, the barriers beginning to dissolve, a simmering tension awaited on the horizon. What revelations would surface, and how would she respond? The game of tug-of-war had only just begun. As Sarah nestled into the fort surrounded by Mia and Leo, the cushioned walls wrapped around her like a protective barrier, momentarily shielding her from the storm brewing in her mind. She caught glimpses of their innocent delight. Their laughter echoed like music, filling the air with a sense of warmth she desperately needed. But as she smiled, an undercurrent of tension tightened her chest, reminding her of the uncertain path ahead. "What's the best thing about your fort?" she asked, striving to initiate light conversation that could pave the way for deeper dialogue later. What she truly wanted was to connect, to open a channel to their thoughts and fears without pressing too hard too soon. Mia's eyes sparkled. "It's our secret hideout. No grown-ups allowed." Sarah chuckled. "And what kinds of secrets do you plan to keep in here?" Leo leaned forward, eagerness spilling out of him. "We can tell each other our super secret powers. I can fly." "Really? That's amazing." She marveled, her heart softening at his creative spirit. "What about you, Mia? Do you have a superpower?" Mia's face scrunched up in concentration. "I can talk to animals. They tell me their secrets." Their playful energy was infectious, but a shadow crossed Sarah's mind, a painful reminder of the realities outside this fortress. She reminded herself that while she could enjoy their delight, she had a responsibility that extended beyond mere play. With every playful laugh, she had to consider how to guide her interactions with revelations of the twins' family life looming just beyond reach. "Can I tell you a secret?" she whispered conspiratorially, lowering her voice. A moment of hesitation struck her, but she pushed it down. "Sometimes I wish I had superpowers too, so I could help keep everything safe." Their attention shifted, visibly intrigued. "What kind of superpower would you want?" Mia asked, her brows raised. Shifting in her seat, Sarah pondered the question deeply, recalling how many past experiences had molded her into the nurturing caregiver she had become. "Well, maybe I'd want the power to understand everyone's feelings. That way I could help people feel better." "That's not a real superpower." Leo giggled, but Sarah caught the nuance in his laughter. Was he mocking her, or was it a safe way to engage in heavy themes? "Sentient?" she injected, challenging him. Her heart raced, sensing she might have struck an emotional chord. "Feeling different emotions is powerful, Leo. What if I could help you and Mia find out how to deal with yours?" Mia suddenly grew serious. "Like when I feel sad because I miss Mom." The air thinned as reality encroached on their playful retreat. "Exactly," Sarah said gently. "Or when you feel scared of things you can't see. That's what I want to help you with." The atmosphere shifted, their playful demeanor fading, replaced by a contemplative silence she hadn't anticipated. A twinge of guilt washed over her, intersecting with her crucial goal of nurturing their sense of security. She was treading on ground that felt and looked fragile. "Sometimes I think about it too," Leo finally admitted, vulnerability creeping into his voice. "About Mom and stuff. Like, if I did have a superpower, I would want it to be making her come back." The weight of his words landed heavily on Sarah. His innocent yearning for reunion collided brutally with the harsh truth she sensed was lurking just beyond their sentences. Yet, here lay an opportunity, perhaps not just to comfort, but to guide them in confronting their grief. "I think you both have incredible power," she remarked softly, choosing her words with care. "Power to keep memories alive, to share stories about her, and talk with each other about how you feel. Starting right here in our secret hideout." The intensity of the moment swallowed them whole, and Sarah noted the parallels between her own fears and the twins' unvoiced uncertainties. She needed to stay strong for them. They needed reassurance she could provide, but the task of revealing her own vulnerability now fell heavier on her shoulders. Staring into their large, hopeful eyes, Sarah's resolve crystallized into determination. They would not be reduced to secrets alone, nor would they be bound by silence. As she drove deeper into this shared experience, she felt herself pivoting away from mere exploration into more profound territory. But at that very moment, her phone buzzed again, a stark interruption vibrating against the soft cushion. She glanced at it, and her heart raced. A new message flared to life on the screen, a world away from the warmth and hope painted in the playroom. "I need to check something," she said, the urgency creeping into her voice. "I'll be right back." While she was the one purportedly guiding the dialogue forward, Sarah suddenly felt a gnawing sense of betrayal brewing inside. This tether to the outside world felt like a threat, a reminder of dangers lurking beyond their bubble. "What if your superpower is that you can always come back to us?" Mia asked, her innocence disarming. In that moment, Sarah understood the necessity of her choices. She had to be all in, despite the stakes both for the twins and herself. I promise, I won't go far. She reassured them with sincerity, albeit uncertainty knotting her stomach as Sarah stepped away from the fort. The weight of the twins' trusting eyes anchored her resolve. But the closer she got to her phone, the more isolation she felt pressing against her defenses. Shadows whispered reminders of the truth she needed to confront, painting their abstract threats across her psyche. Who controlled the narrative now? And at what cost would she unravel the mysteries holding Mia and Leo captive? With her next breath, she realized she was standing at the edge of chaos, but the time had come to confront it head-on. Would she choose a path that might destroy or protect? Before her, uncertainty trembled like the shifting forms of the twins in their hidden fortress, setting the stage for unfolding revelations. The vibrations of the phone felt foreign against her palm, an intrusion into the fragile peace she had built with Mia and Leo. Each tentative step toward the exit echoed the conflict raging within her, her responsibilities as a caregiver tugging against the compulsion to confront the unease entangled in her heart. And the hallway. Light streamed through the windows, illuminating dust motes that danced in the air. The reality of her predicament flashed like a warning sign, and urgency pressed against her chest. Would peeking beyond the sanctuary she had created undo the connection she had forged? Sarah steadied herself, breathing deeply as she unlocked the screen. The message was from her supervisor, a stern reminder of a meeting scheduled for that afternoon, a stark confrontation with the very corporate world she had tried to escape. Glancing back at the playroom, she could hear the muffled laughter of the twins mixing with the tempting softness of their shared vulnerabilities. The thought of returning to the complexities of professionalism made her skin crawl. With deliberate intention, she chose to delay the inevitable. Instead of rushing back to the meeting, she considered the conversation she had just navigated. A kernel of insight took root. The twins were her priority, but she was also human, grappling with her own fears and the looming consequences of her decisions. If she could shift her focus for one moment, perhaps she could model resilience for them both. She returned to the fort, settling back into her role like a well-rehearsed actor stepping onto a familiar stage. What do you think our superpowers would be if we teamed up? She threw out, attempting to ease the heaviness that now lingered in the room. Mia lit up, a spark igniting in her eyes. We could be the super memory team. We'd gather up all the memories of Mom and save them. Yeah. Leo bounced excitedly, his earlier sadness melting into the embrace of imagination. We can use our powers to make everyone happy again. Sarah felt a swell of pride at their creativity, even as her heart ached under the weight of their reality. This was an opening, an opportunity to steer the narrative toward healing. Absolutely. Maybe part of our power can be helping each other when we feel sad or scared. As she spoke, the idea crystallized within her. She couldn't merely guide them through grief and uncertainty. She could cultivate a space where their emotions were not just acknowledged, but celebrated. They were tapping into the essence of healing, transforming pain into storytelling, memories into comfort. Wouldn't it be great if our powers could help others, too? Sarah suggested, her voice taking on a gentle tone, a thread weaving through the fabric of their shared challenge. What would we do? Leo squinted, his brows furrowed as he contemplated this new aspect of their teamwork. What if we shared our stories with others who might miss someone like we do? We could help them remember the good times. The idea sparked within Sarah. The thought of channeling their grief into meaningful connection filled her with a sense of purpose. Mia nodded, her lips pulling into a smile that illuminated her face. Like sharing how much we loved her. That would help. The conversation roared to life as they built upon each other as thoughts, ideas cascading into a vision of something greater. Amid the laughter and camaraderie, Sarah felt the tremors of her internal conflict begin to settle. But as the warmth enveloped them, she could still hear the distant echoes of her supervisor's message, urgent, demanding, reminding her of the impending meeting. Her phone buzzed again, another reminder of the stakes lurking beyond this refuge. Could she surrender her newly formed bond to return to the professional world? Where did her true loyalties lie? And if she did confront those tensions, would there be pieces of her that remained? The question gnawed at her, swelling in intensity. As the laughter from the fort resonated in vibrant contrast to the cold reality awaiting her, Sarah's uncertainty solidified into a stark realization. The time for passive observation was over. She could no longer excuse her dodge from reality. "What if we go make a memory book together?" Sarah proposed, anchoring her gaze on the twins. "We could include stories, drawings, and even those superpowers we just imagined. Could be our way of keeping the memories alive." The children's eyes sparkled with excitement, a flicker of understanding sparking between them, further connecting their shared experience of loss. But beneath the enthusiasm brewed a deeper question she had yet to frolic among. How would she balance this nurturing with the professional expectations thrumming in the background of her life? As they launched into their plans, Sarah's mind raced. Facing the impending meeting loomed before her now, a stark dichotomy of comforting nurturing and the demanding responsibility that awaited her. But deep down, shadows of doubt crept into her thoughts. With her emerging bond flourishing with the twins, would the looming confrontation with her boss tear her from this fragile yet profound sense of purpose? Uncertainty rippled beneath her resolve as she wondered if it was truly possible to become a fuller version of herself, both the caregiver she wanted to be and the professional society expected her to uphold. With this burgeoning realization, one question echoed louder than the others. Could she reconcile her two worlds without sacrificing one for the other? As Sarah held onto the twins' hands, ready to leap into their creative venture, her heart raced, knowing that both her personal journey and professional dilemmas awaited resolution, a collision in the making. Would she embrace this new path or embed herself, stubbornly rooted in expectations? The time had come to uncover the layers of her own identity and the difficult choices that lay ahead. A burst of laughter erupted as the trio dove into their creative project, gathering markers, paper, and their boundless imaginations. Each scribble and word formed a fragile thread woven into their collective tapestry of memory. Sarah reveled in the fluidity of their ideas, feeling the warmth of a bond taking shape, a bond forged in shared loss but emboldened through creativity. Yet, a storm brewed at the edges of her happiness. The meeting loomed like a shadow, a reminder that her responsibilities were still tethered to a world ruled by corporate demands. With every detailed suggestion the children offered, Sarah felt her heart tugging toward a reality. She longed to escape one filled with evaluations, productivity, and expectations. "Are we going to share this book with everyone?" Mia's question, innocent yet potent, snapped Sarah from her reverie. "Absolutely. It can help others feel less alone when they miss someone," she replied, forcing a smile that barely masked her uncertainty. But internally, she wrestled with a burgeoning ache. The prospect of sharing their creation felt exhilarating yet terrifying. Would it be embraced, or would it merely be dismissed as child's play in a world craving profit and efficiency? Sarah could almost feel the judgment in her supervisor's eyes, as though she were already standing in the sterile office, besieged by pointed questions and the prevailing air of skepticism. "Do you think our stories will make them cry?" Leo's innocent inquiry pulled at her heartstrings. "Maybe they will, but sometimes it's good to cry," Sarah offered, trying to mirror their excitement. "Crying can help us feel better, just like laughter can." A small light flickered with that response, and she felt a brief sense of comfort in its simplicity. Yet even as they barreled through their collaborative effort, it became apparent that the deeper emotional catalyst remained undervalued in her professional life. Was she destined to compartmentalize her existence into soft, nurturing moments with Mia and Leo in the stark, cold atmosphere of the office? The twins exchanged ideas enthusiastically, their voices blending into a symphony of youthful enthusiasm, further amplifying her internal conflict. Each laugh that escaped their lips reminded Sarah that this right here was where she felt capable, needed, and powerful. A bridge was forming between her personal life and her professional aspirations. Yet there was an ominous wind whispering of challenges ahead. An unexpected moment of clarity struck her as she listened to Mia narrate how their mother would always share little stories about their family. "If only people knew what it's like to feel what we do," Mia said, her voice tinged with both sadness and resolve. In that instant, Sarah glimpsed a potential path for herself. Could she be that bridge, the conduit through which these children's voices echoed into the world? But would her workplace embrace such empathy? Could she advocate for integrating care into a corporate structure? As visions of her supervisor's piercing gaze flitted through her mind, reality set in a confrontation awaited her. The fabric of her values began to fray around the edges as the weight of her career made itself known, pressing against her conscience. Feeling the emotions swell within her, Sarah's heart raced uncertainly. She inhaled deeply, striving to ground herself in the joy surrounding her. But the pull of duty intersected with this newfound conviction. The sweet allure of the twins' laughter eventually clashed with the stifling anticipation of her meeting. The duality of her identity as a caregiver in a corporate setting felt increasingly untenable. "Let us make sure we write each memory down perfectly," she urged, masking her internal dissonance with fervor. Yet as she encouraged their creativity, Sarah's mind pivoted rapidly between the potential of her personal growth and the stark demands of her presence within the professional realm. Somewhere deep within, she longed to carve out a way to honor her emotional growth, coupled with the professional standards she operated under. What if she found a way to sway the impending meeting in her favor? Her spine tingled with that thought as she held the twins close. They were her motivation, the living testament to resilience. Maybe, just maybe, she could parlay this growing connection into a professional stance, an interlacing of emotion and duty. As they continued their project, Sarah could sense the fraying threads of her resolve. Loosening one choice could shift her entire paradigm. But as her heart filled with hope, apprehension lurked in the corners of her mind. When the time came to confront her supervisor, would she find the courage to assert her newfound vision, bridging her personal revelations to a professional engagement? Sarah's thoughts whirled, and in that moment, the room felt charged with possibilities, an invitation to redefine her narrative. Would she grasp it, or would she fall back into complacency? In every laughter echoing around her, the spark of a bold decision waited, ready to ignite the next chapter of her journey. The sharpening sound of markers dragging across paper was absorbed into the fabric of Sarah's thoughts, competing with the storm swirling in her mind. The children's laughter and their excited chatter drifted in and out of focus, a sweet distraction that couldn't mask the anxiety clawing at her insides. She busied herself with the project, but the weight of the corporate expectations loomed, a familiar predator waiting in the shadows. "Can I add a dragon to our story?" Leo's voice broke through her stormy contemplation, greeting her with a charm she found hard to resist. Her heart responded with warmth. Creativity, unshackled by judgment, poured forth from their innocent minds, and yet in stark contrast, the sterile resources of her corporate environment flashed ominously in her memory. This juxtaposition stripped away the comforting layers of her mourning. "Sure, dragons can be fantastic magic weavers," she replied, nudging her enthusiasm into the twins' creative process. With each invigorating exchange, Sarah felt a growing urge to anchor this harmonious experience into her professional journey. The idea of embracing vulnerability and creativity at work resonated deep within her. But how could she share this revelation? Raising the notion of integrating emotional intelligence into corporate culture felt akin to juggling fire, unpredictable, and more thrilling than she dared to acknowledge. Suddenly, her thoughts turned sharply to the meeting. The corporate boardroom loomed as a contrast to the light-hearted atmosphere she stood within. Would her supervisor truly consider the power of emotional narratives, or would her proposal be regarded with skepticism, the taste of dismissal bitter on her tongue? Footsteps echoed from the corridor, and Sarah's heart raced as she recognized a familiar cadence, her supervisor, Margaret. That imposing presence was rapidly approaching, her reputation as an unwavering taskmaster preceding her. In the fleeting moment of awareness, Sarah realized how much she dreaded Margaret's perception of her work. At that instant, she made a decision. She would not show fear. She would own her narrative. "Just like the characters in our story," Sarah said, pulling the twins' attention back to their project. "They face challenges, but they also find strength." "Are you a character too?" Mia queried, her eyes sparkling with curiosity. Sarah chuckled softly, but internally, she recognized a vital truth. She had been floundering, caught between the role of caregiver and corporate worker. She had lost sight of her own character arc. "I think I can be, and maybe I'll show everyone the importance of stories, our stories." Emboldened, Sarah listened as the twins began to exert their imaginative powers. However, with each word created on the paper, her mind raced ahead. She sketched a plan, an impression of how the meeting could play out. Typically, she would find a way to submit to the corporate machine. But now, buoyed by the fluid creativity surrounding her, the urge to advocate for something more bloomed. What if she approached the meeting not as a passive participant but as a compelling storyteller seeking to weave a narrative rich in emotional integrity? Her heart raced at the thought. Courage felt more attainable than it had in months. Let us make sure to include moments that make the reader cry, Leo suggested, eyes wide with intention. Absolutely, Sarah replied, knowing the sentiment was derived from a place of raw emotion. They shout, they feel, and they connect. As realizations dropped into place, the duality of her existence, the giver of warmth and the performer of cold tasks, began to converge. Would she risk all that she had built to champion the importance of feeling? Fear still simmered beneath her excitement, an undercurrent that warned her of the possible fallout. With newfound determination, Sarah began outlining her thoughts for the meeting, channeling her passion for creative compassion. What was once tangled in self-doubt transformed into clarity. Each line drawn, each memory recorded, echoed her resolve to bridge her nurturing instincts with her professional ambitions. But just as she reached a pivotal point of confidence, a whisper of uncertainty crept in. Would they listen? Would Margaret dismiss her passion as irrelevant? Sarah, we're about to finish. Mia's voice broke through her focus, drawing her back to the project. In that moment, clarity crystallized like ice upon a resolute surface. She would indeed present her vision at the meeting. The initiative she had begun here, this emotional tapestry woven alongside the children, would form the sturdy foundation of her advocacy. But as she spread the pages before her, a single phrase burned into her memory. What if no one cares? It reverberated ominously, a chilling reminder of her vulnerabilities. As the project reached its conclusion, every heartbeat thundered in tandem with her resolve. She felt the edges of fear and excitement blur as she prepared to introduce her visionary approach. Yet just as she stood ready, poised between her nurturing spirit and the unyielding corporate world, she knew deep down that the confrontation awaiting her was not only with Margaret, but with herself. Would she emerge as the bridge she yearned to be, or succumb to the cynical limitations of the environment? The answer loomed, waiting for her to seize it. The boardroom felt like a lion's den, cold and intimidating. As Sarah stepped inside that afternoon, bright fluorescent lights bounced off stark white walls, amplifying the tension thick in the air. The long conference table, polished and imposing, seemed to mock her confident resolve with its sterile austerity. Despite the fortress of professionalism surrounding her, she could still hear the echoes of children laughing, envisioning dragons weaving through stories, a stark contrast to the corporate buzzwords swirling in her mind. Margaret sat at the head of the table, her expression a mask of practiced indifference. Sarah's pulse quickened as she remembered her promise to herself that she would bring her narrative to the forefront today and not shrink into the background. The others in the room were already settled, faces a mixture of disinterest and expectation. She took a deep breath, recalling the warmth of the twins' creativity, allowing it to anchor her. Thank you for gathering here today. Margaret's voice sliced through the atmosphere. Let us get right down to business. Who has updates on the current projects? The meeting unfolded in its usual dreariness. Reports buckled under the weight of metrics and deadlines, each corporate term hammering at the joy she had felt earlier. She could see the others nodding, their gazes fixed on PowerPoint slides, their spirits drained from the relentless grind. And yet, amid the monotony, Sarah's resolve shifted. No more would she let herself slip away unnoticed. I have something I'd like to share, she said, the words tumbling out before she had a chance to talk herself out of it. All eyes turned toward her, surprise mingled with skepticism. Margaret raised an eyebrow, clearly intrigued but accustomed to people overstepping boundaries. This better be brief, Sarah. With steely determination, Sarah gathered the pages she prepared a mosaic of concepts, ideas born from her time with the twins. I want to propose a framework focused on emotional intelligence within our team strategy. This isn't just about productivity, it's about creating a narrative that fosters connection among our team members. I believe that storytelling can empower us. The room fell silent. She felt her heart race, uncertainty creeping back, when a whisper of doubt gripped her. What if they dismissed her? What if all the time she spent nurturing creativity was wasted? But the faces around her reflected only confusion mixed with intrigue. "Go on," Margaret said, her tone softer, almost encouraging as Sarah delved deeper. Using vibrancy to enrich her words, she spoke of moments that inspired vulnerability in relationships. She drew analogies between her experiences with the twins and the corporate environment, framing the shift as not merely beneficial but necessary. The steely formality of the room began to crack. As her passion broke through the corporate facade, her narrative creating a bridge where only walls had existed. Moments of authenticity allow us to connect deeply and authentically, enabling us to bring out the best in each other. Our stories matter, Sarah emphasized, her voice strong yet inviting. It's an opportunity for growth for all of us. To her surprise, she saw a flicker of interest in the eyes of her colleagues, the tiniest nod of affirmation from one of them. A connection formed in that moment, a bloom of understanding born from her bravery to voice her belief. But Margaret's face remained impassive. You do realize that the corporate culture doesn't easily lend itself to emotional narratives, right? We have strict objectives to meet. The chill of her words was like a flash of ice. Sarah's heart sank, one step forward feeling more like two steps back. Yet, this encounter called forth an unexpected force. What if we redefine success to include emotional well-being? She countered, what if integrating emotional intelligence becomes our competitive edge? Families thrive when they understand each other, and so can we. The weight of her own stakes tethered her assertiveness. She had poured herself into this vision. Now, it was not just an idea but a part of her identity. Interesting perspective, but will the stakeholders agree? Margaret's challenge lingered. A dignified silence crept through the room, heavy with unanswered questions. Sarah had positioned herself on the precipice of transformation, but as the meeting adjourned and her colleagues began to file out, she steeled herself for the impending conversation. Margaret remained seated, the questioning eyes still fixed on Sarah. "Sarah, you've shown some creativity today," Margaret began, her tone revealing an unfamiliar hint of intrigue. "But you'll need to build a solid case if you want this to fly. Are you prepared for the pushback?" The tension remained palpable, and beneath the surface of her confidence, uncertainty brewed. Could she truly navigate this dangerous terrain and transform her vision into reality? As she prepared to respond, the weight of the moment crashed down, filling her with both dread and determination. The real battle was just beginning, and yet, she felt something shift within her. A resounding question lingered at the edges of her thoughts. Would she fight for her vision, risking everything, or would she retreat, allowing fear to dictate her destiny? In the quiet moments after the meeting, Sarah felt the ardor of her earlier inspiration flicker within. Each daunting word from Margaret had transformed into a catalyst for fire, a desire not just to advocate but to ignite true change. As she left the conference room, her mind echoed with the glimmers of possibility she had seized during the presentation. What had once felt like an insurmountable chasm between her worlds, the nurturing realm of Mia and Leo, and the sterile arena of corporate digest, now appeared as fertile ground for innovation. She had dared to weave a narrative grounded in emotional intelligence, and despite the apprehension hanging in the air, she felt a surge of ownership over her destiny. Back at the mansion, the atmosphere was charged with creativity. Mia and Leo had nearly completed their memory book, pages bursting with vivid colors and thoughts, laid bare a testament to their splintered innocence and resilient hopes. "Sarah, look," Leo beamed, proudly presenting a drawing of a sailing ship filled with dragons, navigating through a sea of emotions. They had named it the SS Courage, a vessel for their memories, fears, and dreams. In that moment, Sarah understood she could apply similar principles to redefine her environment, a safe harbor amid the corporate storm. "It's beautiful, Leo," she exclaimed, prying open her heart further. "This can be more than a memory book. It can remind us that we have the power to steer our stories, even through turbulent waters." Empowered by their spirited exchange, Sarah felt her own ship begin to sail toward clarity. She wanted to take the essence of their childhood imagination and advocate for a workplace built on courage to confront feelings and embrace collective vulnerability. Her meeting with Margaret would not be the end, but the beginning of a larger narrative as the twins decided to share their favorite memories of their mother. Sarah's brows knitted. This was a crucial gateway, an unguarded entry into emotional understanding. "Let us write it down," she suggested. "The funny moments, the lessons, everything that reminds us how loved we are." Mia's voice chimed softly. "I wish everyone felt as safe as we feel here." "Me too," Sarah whispered, her heart swelling. "And they can, if we guide them, just like we're doing with this book." And she would lead that ship forward. Fueled by her conviction, she envisioned proposing a full-fledged program to interlace emotional narratives within company protocols, fostering genuine human connections among colleagues. Later, she found herself standing before the mirror, reflecting on the tumultuous journey that had brought her here. The weight of professional scrutiny loomed large, yet the sturdiness she felt from the twins filled her with an unshakable resolve. They had become her North Star, reminders of the vitality of emotional engagement, echoes of the truths that existed beyond mere financial metrics. The next day, as she approached her meeting with Margaret, she clutched the memory book close to her chest, a talisman of affirmation and courage. This time, Sarah would present not just an idea, but a movement, an evolution. Gathering her thoughts amid the sterile conference room, she unfolded her proposals not only on paper but with the passion inspired by the twins' laughter, creativity, and spirit. "We can cultivate an atmosphere that promotes psychological safety and emotional resonance. Our workplace can become a tapestry woven with stories that connect us, empower us, and humanize our roles." Margaret's expression softened, hinting at something beyond skepticism, perhaps curiosity. "And how do you propose we measure success with this emotional approach?" "The growth of our team dynamics." Employee satisfaction surveys focused on emotional well-being. "The impact on productivity will come as a natural byproduct." Sarah spoke with newfound authority, the presence of her connection to Mia and Leo pulsing behind every word. That as she laid out her vision, the atmosphere shifted palpably, Margaret beginning to nod along with fragments of understanding ascending to the surface. By the close of their conversation, Margaret leaned forward, her tone resolute yet curious. "You may just be onto something, Sarah. Let us explore a pilot initiative." As Sarah left the room, a wave of triumph and exhilaration enveloped her. This was her achievement, a synthesis of her dual identity as caregiver and professional. The book of memories had evolved into a living blueprint for change. As she reflected on the journey ahead, she felt empowered, not merely as a participant within a corporate framework, but a critical architect of its future. In the sanctuary of the mansion, a tapestry filled with joy and laughter awaited, a reminder of all she had grown into. With every step she took, Sarah proved to herself that true progress was not only about navigating the unknown, but also about shedding light on the shadows that once seemed insurmountable. She had conquered her fears, embraced her purpose, and laid the foundation for an emotional revolution. The road ahead was vibrant and compelling, and she would set sail with her SS courage into uncharted waters, ready to impact her world. Now is the moment. You need to subscribe to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support. Comment your reactions and theories. We want to hear from you. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second. You hold the keys to empowerment through connection.